Every UFC fighter often steps into the octagon, believing that they can demolish anything. Some fighters take the extra mile by becoming arrogant and disrespectful to their opponents. Only a few fighters have been able to back their trash talk with results. A larger percentage of those with the most talk easily get their jaw dropped. Watching some of our overconfident and arrogant fighters get humbled in the octagon is one of the most satisfying things to witness in the sport of mixed martial arts. Stick around as we reveal fighters that have been bitten by karma inside the octagon. Our first fight is a perfect example of trash talking gone wrong. Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. In 2020, Adesanya and Costa had the greatest challenge of their career. The pair were both undefeated in the octagon, but Costa was pompous. He took the trash talking personally at the UFC 253 pre-fight press conference by mocking Israel's poor BJJ skills. Costa revealed that he was a black belt, while Adesanya was a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. The Brazilian fighter was confident that he was a better grappler than Adesanya. "You're a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. You cannot say nothing about jiu-jitsu. You're like a kid in jiu-jitsu. You don't know how to do an arm lock," Costa said. As it turns out, that wasn't the end of the BJJ beef between the opponents. Costa came out with his black belt tied around his waist at the weigh-ins. Then, he pulled out a white belt and threw it at Adesanya, who hurled it back at him as security held the fighters back from each other, and they exchanged a few more verbal barbs. However, when the day for the fight finally came, Costa's BJJ skills could not help him in the ring. Adesanya landed several brutal kicks to Costa's leg in the first round. Costa was only able to deliver a few kicks in the opening round. Adesanya dominated the fight and easily evaded most of Costa's shots. The last stylebender landed a big head kick in the second round, completely stunning Costa. Costa threw punches in the center of the cage, but they were all countered by a left hook that staggered him. Adesanya followed him down to the canvas and continued to rain punches and elbows until the referee rushed in to stop the fight. The jiu-jitsu master could not use his skills to defend himself. Our next matchup features one of the biggest upsets that rocked the fight community: Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman. Anderson Silva is an MMA legend with many unrivaled records. As a UFC middleweight champion, Silva holds the record for the most title defenses and longest consecutive winning streak. However, his UFC championship reign was cut short by Chris Weidman. Silva was full of himself right from the start of the contest. He would often taunt the All-American by dropping his hands, egging on Weidman to initiate, even backing himself into the fence and motioning Weidman in just like his prior fight against Stephan Bonnar. Silva still did not see Weidman as a challenge, as he placed his hands on his hips, dodging strikes but again getting hit with a right hand from Weidman, but acting like it was nothing. Silva responded to the right hand from Weidman by sending jabs and leg kicks. In the second round, the Spider continued his taunting by motioning for Weidman to bring it. Weidman stepped up to the challenge, firing off a quick left and right hand that grazed the champ. Silva's response was to pretend to be wobbled and fire right back. While Silva was dancing on the outside, Weidman succeeded in taking him down. The All-American followed Silva to the floor with heavy ground and pound. The referee, Herb Dean, had to end the fight quickly. Weidman was now the new middleweight champion. Silva never recovered from his loss to Weidman. He lost in the rematch against Weidman and was subsequently released by the UFC after losing most of his fights. TJ Dillashaw versus Cody Garbrandt 2. The beef between TJ Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt is one of the most intense rivalries in UFC history. The feud started when Dillashaw left the Sacramento, California-based gym in favor of Dwayne Ludwig's Elevation Fight Team in Denver, Colorado. Cody Garbrandt and TJ Dillashaw got their big break in MMA as members of Sacramento-based gym team Alpha Male, which longtime UFC bantamweight Urijah Faber founded. TJ Dillashaw defeated Cody Garbrandt the 2 times they met inside the octagon. At their first meeting, Dillashaw captured the UFC bantamweight title against Garbrandt. Before their bantamweight championship rematch, Garbrandt referred to Dillashaw as being classless after his win at UFC 217. "He's classless. That's TJ. He's always been like that," Garbrandt said during a fan Q&A. "That's who he is. It was classless. Win or lose, win I outclassed Dominic Cruz. I gave him my respect. TJ's up in my face and flexing on my team, acting like a little asshole. I remember every single thing. That's what motivated me this whole entire camp. TJ getting in my face after that fight. Immediately after their first bout, Dillashaw, who was very excited, screamed at his opponent's face. He might have gone too far with his celebration. No Love also took a shot at Dillashaw's childhood, saying that he had a silver spoon in his mouth his whole life. The rematch between the pair was held 9 months later at UFC 227. No Love had the chance to get back his title, but instead, he suffered a devastating loss that would send his career into a downward spiral. A few minutes into the first round, both men landed devastating hooks. Cody was the first to attack with some hooks, but Dillashaw countered him and went for an early knockdown. Dillashaw continued with the shots, but was looking for the perfect opportunity to go for a counter right hook. Dillashaw controlled the fight from here and continued to land strikes until the referee came to call off the fight. Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey seemed much more respectful and level-headed when she started MMA, but as she piled up victories, she started to believe her press clippings declaring her the greatest. Gradually, she became more rude and dismissive. One cannot tell whether she was always rude or disrespectful, or just polite at first. But when your disrespect makes you overlook your opponent's strengths and gets your head knocked off, it's a bad sign. During a pre-fight press conference, Ronda was asked if she felt Holm could be a champion and beat her. Her response was epic. Ronda claimed that Holm does not need the UFC title. Ronda said, "I think this kind of environment isn't what Holly would like. I hope she takes the money she gets for losing and has a great life that she would like a lot more than this one." Surprisingly, Ronda Rousey lost to Holly Holm at UFC 193 by a vicious second-round knockout. No one anticipated this outcome, and it remains one of the biggest upsets in UFC history. When Rousey moved forward, the preacher's daughter consistently moved out of the way and kept Rousey at arm's length. Rousey charged forward and threw looping punches. Holm's southpaw stance and strong footwork gave her the upper hand. Whenever Rousey got within range, Holm would either pop her with a stiff jab or use her lead hand to deflect Rousey's, setting up a left hand down the pipe. Holm would circle away each time, forcing Rousey to reset before attempting to re-engage. Holm sent a left hand and quickly followed up with a fight-ending head kick. The unexpected had happened. Holm was now the new champion. After ruling the strawweight division for several years, Jedrzejczyk planned to move to the flyweight division to compete for another title. Sadly, her dream was cut short by another fine striker in the UFC, Rose Namajunas. Joanna Jedrzejczyk versus Rose Namajunas 1. In 2017, Joanna Jedrzejczyk was the UFC strawweight champion, and she was defending it against Rose Namajunas at UFC 217. Jedrzejczyk had an unbeaten record of 14-0. Unlike other fighters, Joanna had her signature performance, which was characterized by violence. Meanwhile, Namajunas came into the octagon, ready to crush anything or anyone in her path. She relied strongly on her jiu-jitsu and boxing skills. Namajunas opened the fight with outside movement, looking to kick and counter her aggressive foe. She found her range first, scoring a couple of nice shots, but Jedrzejczyk also didn't take long to begin attacking and landing. Suddenly, a punch from Namajunas dropped her foe to the mat. Jedrzejczyk scrambled up quickly and returned to her offense, seemingly undeterred. That was a mistake, as Namajunas loaded up on a left hook that crashed into the champion's jawline. Jedrzejczyk fell to the mat, and a flurry of punches ended the bout. Do you think fighters should engage in trash talking? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification to keep seeing videos like this. See you in the next one.